Hi, folks. Laura here again, and I have a wonderful guest, Claire from Canada.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Claire. So, Claire's a really good friend of mine. We're in a healing group together and on Zoom. We're on Zoom again today. You guys won't know that, but it's true. That's how we can come together in this day and age. So, Claire is a healer. And what kind of you do? Tell us what you do.
I do a little bit of everything.
Got
Qualitative healing. It's family stuff, body stuff, and all sorts of stuff. Lots of stuff.
Well, she got my dog Winston to quit marking, which was amazing. Thank you, Jesus. And so he didn't have to get his little thing neutered. He didn't have to go get tutored. I don't like doing things that make other things hurt. So, right?
Right.
So I talked to her and she was like, well, let's see what we can do. And sure enough, she talked to him and he marked a couple times after that, but then he and we just had to talk and I was like, listen, dude. And it was fine. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So we were talking and we were like, I was like, so I'm going to do a recording today. And God told me to talk about fear into laughter. Because you know how we're all like, okay, everyone, if you're sitting in fear, that's not good. Because what happens when we're sitting in fear?
We get really, really stressed out.
Yeah. And we're like a deer in headlights.
And we take shit way too seriously.
So
like way too seriously. Like to the umpteenth level of seriousness.
It's like, oh my God,
you're like, what is wrong with you?
I'm gonna lose my dog. I'm gonna have to go live in the woods in a paper box all by myself. And my boyfriend ain't gonna want me. Nobody's gonna want me. I'm gonna lose all my teeth.
Nobody loves me.
Oh my God, you go down the rabbit hole and you're like, oh my God, the whole world's gonna where are you, God? Where are you? And you scream and yell for it. And God was like, dude, what the hell? Like, you go into that like that just down the rabbit hole, So I was talking to Claire about that, and she's like, "Girl, I'm the poster girl for that shit."
I have used humor in so many ways to heal the trauma drama is what I call it, right? So, and it's I swear to God, it's like saved my life. And I always say God has a really funny sense of humor, and it's like putting a plastic bag over your head, right? And you're like, I can't breathe anymore, I can't breathe, and God's just like, take your head out of the plastic bag. And you're like, oh.
Now we don't really want to minimize somebody's fear, right?
No, but that's what the fear feels like, right? It's very suffocating, and it is like that. Yeah. So I've always been able to just kind of, I guess, when I look back, I was telling Laura that I've always used it really as a coping mechanism, because I think if I didn't laugh at, some of my tragedies and, my traumas and everything else like that, I might not have survived. So, when they say laughter is the best medicine, it really is in so many ways. So it's not about not taking things seriously, but it's about not taking things too seriously or making things more serious than they need to be. And humor and laughter has been, a really, good strategy, I guess, for me, and it helps others because it lightens the load.
It does. And that free floating anxiety is the same thing. Sometimes we don't know, is it fear, is it anxiety, is it stress, is it what is it? And no matter what it is, like sitting in love, I always think about somebody you love, like my dogs. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I'll tell you what, if I put a Comedy Central on and I get a really good one, I totally forget about what it is that I was all anxious about, right? And fearful about. And I start laughing and it gets better. Or I get on a call with Claire and I'm like, everything seems better, right? Even like, hey, come together. But I
Yeah.
won't sing because I can't sing. But you know that Beatles song, "Come Together Right Now," you and I, when we come together, when we laugh, when we have community, when we don't sit in our own poo poo and stink, then our life gets better, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was just thinking about that. It's like it's kind of like when your dog rolls in shit, right? Like when you're taking him for a walk and he comes back and he's all like, "Look at me, look
I
at how
look
pretty I
so
smell." And you're
good.
like, "No, you really stink right now." Right? Like, that's not good.
I
So
know.
a really shitty situation can be really like fun because it just takes the stress off, right? Like I
Wow.
was house sitting one time and the dog literally did that, like rolled in a big pile of crap, and so I told the owner, yeah, I got naked and got in the shower with the dog because what else were you gonna do?
I know. Yeah,
And
you
that's
gotta
just
get that
an
off because
example of,
macaronis, you don't want it on your couch, you don't want it on your carpet, you don't want it anywhere. It's like I pick them up and I do this, kicking doors with my feet. Come on, let's go downstairs. Throw them in the thing, and they're like, "What? I finally smell good, and you're gonna take it away from me." Oh,
exactly.
the bummer in the family. That's ma.
And I think that when we can, do that, it just like that could be a really stressful situation, right? Even, for the animal or for ourselves, right? Because this is like then we get angry and and so then we don't actually take that time to decompress. I always say we're just so not good at decompressing our emotions or realizing what emotion we have, behind something, that's where some of the fear is, right? And
And when
so
does fear come up most for you? Because for me, it's always in the morning. I wake up and I'm like,
when is fear? I know that's a good. I think I kind of go in and out of it depending on the situation, or like you were talking about the difference between fear and anxiety. I kind of explain to people that I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I don't have the paperwork for a psychologist, anyways. and but I always say that there's not really a differentiation between fear and anxiety. That anxiety is fear, and it's just that as humans, we have this human nature to not go around and saying, I'm really terrified of the dark, or I'm scared of boys, or whatever it is. And so we just go, yeah, I have anxiety, and then somebody relates to it, goes, oh yeah, I have anxiety too, because we don't like to even admit that we're scared of something, right?
right.
Scared of being rejected or alone or loved or ignored or whatever it is that we're maybe in fear of, right?
Exactly.
Even of losing control, right? There, a lot of people will have a fear of actually losing control, but God has this great illusion that he's made us believe that we're actually in control.
Well,
This
and
is like, we're not.
being in control is trying to control that fear,
Yeah.
trying to control an outcome so that you don't have a bad outcome or that something bad doesn't happen, right? But the thing about it is that you can't control the fear. You can't. You can just scratch
Yeah.
the belly and
You can just scratch the belly and be like, really, what is there to worry about?
I ain't got no fear until the postman comes.
And I think
Oh,
that the laughter and that kind of stuff, and the joy, that when we can actually like laugh at the situations instead of being so vulnerable. I guess that when I think about it, it's more like the fear of being vulnerable, right? We're scared of maybe being judged, or all the things, and so then we really shut down, and then we can't even be in that laughter, that like, wow, that was ridiculous,
it's so true.
like just so ridiculous, right? I
It's
mean, I've had even in some of my relationships where I've literally just been, maybe we're in a high intensity thing, and I'm just like, hang on a sec, and then I'd be like, I'm just gonna have a 2-year-old temper tantrum right now, because that's what I needed to do, right? And then I'm like, okay, okay, now I'm much better. And some of my friends might be looking at me and going like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, it's just a way of dealing with that, to just be like, that's what I feel like right now. And it might seem ridiculous, but then when you look at it, you're like, that's really what was needed, was
yeah,
just to have a stupid comment or whatever. Because we take it from this intensity and we just kind of, it's like a graph, right? We really actually want to be at the bottom of that bell curve, not at the top. And I
Exactly.
think that that's what humor and laughter does. Then that's how it's helped me in my world anyways.
So true. So when I was meditating this morning, right, and I was getting this, I started laughing. I was like, and they were like, what are you laughing about? And I'm like, God, because God was like, I want you to talk about fear and laughter and how to get out of it. And I'm like, through laughter. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. I mean, it's so simple, yet so profound, right?
Mhm.
Seriously. Anytime you're in fear and you start laughing, or if you're really sick, right? What do they always say? Laughter is the best medicine. And I was like, God, you are so good. So it's just those simple reminders that we need, right? It's to like, when somebody's really fearful, just make them laugh. It just dissipates all of that intensity around the whole situation. And that's what I was telling Claire, is that this is why a lot of our comedians are not are, but have had abuse in their childhoods, or they came out of like really bad situations, and they'll say, I used humor to get through it. Hello.
Mhm.
Can you hear my dog lapping water at this very
Yeah,
moment?
he's watering. Yeah, it makes you think of, I had a girlfriend's granddaughter or whatever, and she had high, anxiety, and just was like, didn't want anybody near her and stuff like that. And I think of the one day, we laugh about it all the time, because if she's in a like a sulky mood or whatever, I'm like, I got on all fours, and I was pretending to be like a bear, and I was like, do you need a mauling, a love mauling? And I crawled all over her and just like hugged her, and and then she just burst out laughing. And I was just like, there we go. Right. And so every time she's in that, I'm like, do you need a mauling, a love mauling?
Right.
And
And
it was
she's
just
like,
instinct. It's not something you think about. Yeah. Like, but when you have that personality or whatever, but if you think back, right, to when you were a child, we laughed and we played, and we can really bring that forward into our adultness. But we've taken everything so personally and so literal that everything becomes serious. Like there is no more, it's like there's no more time for fun and laughter, right? You have to grow up. And I'm like, I refuse to grow up. I'm not going to do it.
my
Because it
mom,
just
my mom
like
used to do this when we were kids.
right? Like, and then you're like, my mom and I used to fight, right? And she'd be like, I'd be like, I'm so mad at you. And she'd be like, yeah, well, and I'd be like, well, I'm not talking to you anymore. And then that'd be it. Right? And then like it just dissipates things, because you're
Right.
just like, you can
Exactly.
still acknowledge something, but have fun with it too. Because as I say, life is
Life is
way too
too,
short
and it's too serious. Like, come
to be serious.
on. Like, well, okay, so one of my clients last week, we were talking, and she had gone through a really bad spot, and then she had come out of it. And I'm like, so what did you learn from it? She said, oh, I spent way too much time worrying about that bullshit. And I was like, I know, right? We both cracked up, and I'm like, exactly. Let someone else worry. You know what I'm saying? Have fun, enjoy the moment. That's one of the things that God has been just like pounding in my head lately. Just sit in the moment, right here, right now. You're just fine. He's like, this is what I want you to do. If you're not going to do that, this is what's going to happen. This, and I just want you to just stay right here in this moment, just right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm having this amazing conversation with my friend Claire. We're laughing, we're having a good time. My dogs are walking around like they can't just sit down when I'm doing this and stop making all this like ground noise.
Quit licking your genitals right now. We're on live TV. Just stop it.
And so just take a moment every day to laugh. That's what we're saying. And of course, if the anxiety or the fear gets too much, hey, contact us. We can help. Least I could do is tell you a knock knock joke, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the lower part of the YouTube, I'm gonna put her information, Claire, who's an amazing what do you call yourself?
I don't
I know,
know.
right? She's an
I don't have a
intuitive.
description for me yet.
She loves God like I do. And so we hang out with God and we get God things from God. How's that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Work for God.
We're,
Yeah.
we're, we're, we're workers of God.
We don't
God
like to have
workers.
labels. We're
Godly
just
workers.
do what we do. But get this, on Sunday at from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time, Adrienne, the girl that was in another one of my videos, a couple down the row, she's going to join me and we are going to do live Facebook streaming of readings. So if you have questions, you can call in at my number and we will post that number. And there's going to be a lot of fun times there, a lot of laughter. Claire said that she'd like to do it at some point, so I'm introducing you guys to Claire, and sometime soon we're gonna have Claire come on and show you what she does, because she is amazing. Like I said, she helped my Winnie not use his weenie when he wasn't supposed to be.
Very important.
Was because remember, I had called the vet and I had done up the neutering. I had made an appointment for neutering, and then I was talking to her and she's like, let's try it. I'm just hearing this and this and this. And I'm like, great. So we did. And then bada bing, bada boom. And he did it a couple other times, and like I said afterwards, but then it was clear and free. He was just doing it because other dogs had done it. That was the only reason.
Yeah, and that's what I was just hearing, right? It's just like that fear response in us as humans is also that it's like a learned behavior, right? And so we have to unlearn the behavior of actually being scared, because there's not really anything. There's natural fear, like, see bear run, or I don't know what the rules are. Maybe see bear lay down. I'm not sure.
See bear run.
It's like a natural instinct, right? Like, and so I always say it's kind of like 80, like I've been really hearing a lot of like 80-20, kind of stuff in the past few months here. And I have taken that, even for myself. And it's just like, where do I spend 80% of my time, on whatever it might be, whether it's relationship or finances or whatever I might be scared of, worrying about. And then how can I turn that around? So it's, if I'm going to do, just give that a little bit of energy, right? Like, not like my whole focus is on that. And, and that really helps.
Well, and that's what God said too today, was to like get your focus off of whatever it was that you were worried about, because that's just giving it that more energy, right? Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. That's wonderful. So you know what, you guys, I'm going to cut this off because you can't go over 15 minutes. Y'all don't have that much time in your day. So thank you for joining us here today on Conversations with Claire and Laura. And we'll see you
Claire and Laura show.
Bye.
Bye.